So for the past few weeks, I've actually been using these in my bag. These are the new EcoFlow. They call them the Trails. This is the DC 200, and this one is the 300 DC. And these are called the DC because we only have DC outlets here on the front. You don't have the larger weight of the AC inverters on these power stations, which makes these nice and compact, especially for me when I'm out there on the road and I want to charge up my laptop, my devices, even my drones. You can easily do it with these small power stations here. And the one thing I really like about the size of these power banks is that they are larger than those smaller power banks that you normally carry around just to charge up like 1 or 2 cell phones, but they're not as large as something like this, which is the EcoFlow. This is the River 3. Definitely a lot bigger, not something that you would carry around in your bag. I was able to fit these in my camera bag, which would normally take up like one slot where I'd normally put a lens. I can now keep one of these power banks in there and power up pretty much everything that's in my gear bag. So if you're the outdoorsy type, if you like hiking, camping, or for me, I like to use it to power up all of my gear, my photography gear, cameras, all my batteries, and still have it be really small, compact, and not have to deal with a larger power bank. For me, this was kind of like the max size if you wanted to carry something around with you in your bag while you're out there in the field. So let's quickly go through some of the ports we have here on the very front, as well as talk about some of the pros and the cons. Here on the front of the 200 DC, we have 2 USB-C ports. One is 140 watts, and the other one is 100 watts, perfect for charging up something like your laptop or your drones. Next, we have 2 12-watt USB-A ports right here on the right. Now, the ports on the 300, very similar. We have 2 USB-Cs, except both of these are actually 140 watts. 2 USB-A ports at 12 watts each. On the very right, we have a solar input. So if you wanted to charge this up via a solar panel, we have a 10 to 30 volt, 110 watt max solar input right there. All right, so let's test out these solar. I have a 100 watt. This is a foldable little travel one that I like to use, and hooking it up here to the solar port on the right side. This is the 300 DC. And as far as input goes, we are full sunlight at the moment. Input on the 300 DC coming in about 66 watts. This is a 100 watt panel, and we're getting about 66 watts. So pretty cool that you're able to hook up and charge up via the solar outlet here on the right. And then you can still charge up and add even more power to it. If you want to charge up even faster, you could plug in a USB-C port here. At the very bottom, you can see we have a 12 volt outlet. So if you have something that takes this, a lot of times you have things like air compressors or pumps or anything that you want to use that 12 volt for, you have that option here on the 300. You don't have that here on the 200. Now, when it comes to using the 12 volt, that cigarette or car socket option here at the very bottom, you can use it for something like this, which is a car pump, or use it for something like this, which is an air mattress inflator. You have to hook it up to the bottom port here, the 12 volt at the very bottom. Plug that in, and then press this on. And there you go. Looks like I'm using about 90, 85. We have a strap here at the very top of both power banks, make it easy to carry around. The 200 comes in at a little over 4 pounds, and the 300 comes in about 5, a little bit more than 5.5 pounds. As far as dimension goes, the 200 is 6.5 by 4.5 by 5 inches, and the larger 300 DC comes in 6.5 by 4.5 by 6.5. As far as capacity goes, we have 192 watt hours of capacity here on the 200, and on the 300 we have about 50% more, so we have about 288 watt hours here. And when it comes down to output, we have 220 watts here, as well as 300 watt output here on the 300 DC. As far as batteries, both these are LFP batteries rated for about 3,000 cycles. And when it comes down to charging, when I took this out, I was trying to figure out how do I charge them up. I was looking for a port or something here at the back. You actually have to charge them up via the USB-C port here on the very front. Now, even though it does use up one of the ports for charging, what's nice is it does have pass-through. So if you are charging up the power station, you can use the other port to power up one of your devices. And just to test out the pass-through, right now I have it plugged into the wall. So it's getting 61 watts of input coming from my wall charger. And then I'm also charging my iPad here, both using the USB-C ports. One's in, and then this one's coming out over here to charge up my iPad. And my iPad is charging at 29 or 30 watts output. So I am able to charge at the same time right here, 62 coming in, and output, I am able to charge up my device, which is taking up approximately 26 watts at the moment. And as far as how much you can power up the 200, if you wanted to charge up something like your cell phone, you're able to charge it up about 15 to 20 times, or a laptop, you could recharge your laptop about 3 to 4 times. Now, a couple cons of these battery stations that I did notice after using it for a little while now is the first one is you do not have connectivity to the EcoFlow app. And I actually really like the EcoFlow app. I use it on all of my other power stations that I have, the Delta as well as the River. Works really, really well. And even though they don't have it, I didn't find it as, you know, kind of like it wasn't like a burden to me because this is normally just in my bag. I don't really need to monitor it too much from afar. So I didn't really find it that big of a downside. However, it definitely was something to note. Next con I noticed is that when you do get these power stations, there is no power cord or no power plug, which was like, okay, how do I power it up? The assumption is you already have a USB-C plug and power brick at home, so you would just be able to charge them up with one of those. Kind of like just like Apple, how they just stopped including cords and power cables in their packages now. So you don't get a cord or a power brick for these power stations. And the last con is that these actually do not support UPS or the uninterrupted power supply. So if you're planning on using this thing as like a kind of a hub where you're powering all of your gear off of it, as well as having it plugged into the wall, and you wanted to use this as a UPS. Unfortunately, these don't have that option. You would need to jump up to the River or the Delta power banks from EcoFlow. And again, it is a con, but I didn't really notice it too much because for me, I would just use these while I was out there in the field. Anywhere that I just needed power, I'm able to just whip this out of my bag, put this onto the table, have my laptop powered off of it, have all of my kids' iPads powered off of it. And I didn't have to worry about carrying a bunch of small power bricks. I was able to carry one of these in my bags and power up all of our devices. So if you're looking at powering up a bunch of your gear while you're on the road, while you're out there on a hike, and you want one of the biggest power stations that is, I would say, backpackable, coming in again, a little over 4 pounds, you definitely want to check out the Trails from EcoFlow. And most recently, they just had a bunch of price drops, so I'll make sure that the links are down below in the video description of the latest pricing, so make sure you guys check those out. But they've actually been lowering these prices. They've actually been having some bundle deals on their website, giving you an actual physical charger with them now. Again, depending on when you're watching this video, there might be some different deals and different accessories that might be included, so make sure you guys check out those links down below. Huge thanks to EcoFlow for sending these out for me to test, and these are definitely going to be in my bag, especially when I'm out there on a shoot. I know I'm able to keep all of my camera gear, my action cameras, plug them onto here, and I can still keep this, and it's small enough to keep inside of your backpack. Again, make sure you check out the links down below if you guys want to see some of the latest savings on the EcoFlow Trails battery solutions. As always, if you guys got some value from this video, a big like would be much appreciated. This is Ultra Satya with FlytPath.com. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.